Anyone who knows me, or could see my icon on basically any platform, would know that this little star guy is my avatar on the internet. This is Jirachi, and he's just a little guy. He's only been distributed in events, and one thing I've always wanted to have is a shiny version of him. It's not something we ever got in Freedom Land, at least not intentionally, so it would be plenty special to simply have him. But what if I could go even further beyond? What if this shiny Jirachi could have a trait no other event Pokemon could have? What if he had a nickname? Welcome to this quest. At first, my goal was to roll for a particularly exclusive club of shiny Jirachi, the one from Pokemon Channel and PAL territories. When you beat the game, you can distribute Jirachi to your GBA game connected to the GameCube, but only once per save file. You also needed to beat the game every time you rolled for it, so there's a reason why around 10 people maximum have been said to roll for one legit. However, I am a creature with lots of things to do and no time to do them, so I figured an easier way would be to roll for the Coliseum bonus disc Jirachi. A bit less special, but still very cool to have. Unfortunately, I severely underestimated that process. Take a look at this. This footage was sped up by an absurd amount. If I was trying to do this normally, this would have taken an eternity. Remember how I said we weren't supposed to have a shiny Jirachi? Turns out Coliseum Jirachi is intended to be shiny locked, but they messed up its implementation. It works based off of your trainer ID and secret ID for determining shininess, but not the intended trainer ID and SID of the Jirachi itself. This unusual bug means that it skips any roll that would be normally naturally shiny for your trainer ID, and this makes the shiny chances of Jirachi a little bit better than a normal shiny. Which sounds good, right? I mean, Gen 3's chance is already really low. 1 in 7,282. That's your chance. And every time you roll for it, you have to check if you got it, do the entire prologue segment again, which takes about 5 minutes, then wait for the Jirachi animation to finish on the console while it messes with your save file, see if you got it, etc, etc. Every roll takes about 10 minutes under intended conditions. There have even been ways people found of speeding up the rolling process by using a backup save on your cartridge. In case you didn't know, every GBA Pokemon game has 2 save blocks, and it uses one as a backup in case the first one gets corrupted. You can use a trick to roll faster by intentionally corrupting the first one, but not the second one. But even these ways of trying to speed up the rolling process still only stops the prologue part. What makes this worse for me is my method of loading up Homebrew was very slow. I use Pokeload, which is this Coliseum save file exploit that leads directly into the Homebrew on my memory card. So each time I want to load up Homebrew, it's another couple minutes down the drain. As we started approaching my self-imposed deadline, which is April 8th, I realized that the time investment required to naturally roll into a shiny Jirachi wasn't going to cut it. I wanted my shiny hunt to be a journey all its own, but if the practical apocalypse is right around the corner, then I don't exactly have the time for that. So I decided to turn back to RNG manipulation for the shiny hunt portion. Shoutouts to Papa Hefe on YouTube for the best guide on the topic that still has all the resources existing. I won't go into all the specifics here, but the most important part about rolling for the Jirachi is the checksum of my game save. The checksum is equivalent to the RNG seed that's used for when it rolls your shiny Jirachi. Even more interestingly, it only pulls from that first game save block. See, now this has me extremely curious. Because I have an idea. I have an idea as to what's causing this, but I can't prove it yet. Oh, fuck! Okay, I did not think about that. Damn it! Okay. Fuck. We need to be on slot A. Ah! Okay, that explains everything. Because when it saves over stuff, it saves over block A. And it changed our thing. This glitch is not unknown already. It was already well documented by I'm a Blissey, who is also awesome. You should check out their stuff if you want to learn more about this. Alright, hope we got it this time. My Game Boy's on red. I've been doing this for so long. I have exhausted my Game Boy's battery. Well, that's really my indicator that I need to stop. We're done! Oh, thank Christ. Alright, we're done. We're done. We hit the frame. We got it. That took an astonishing amount of time for what it was. Now that we have our adorable little guy with the red wishing tags, it's time to begin the real technical wizardry. Our first step was getting this relatively ordinary emerald save file from fresh after beating the game and turning it into a machine that'll do what we need it to do. Up until very recently, event Pokemon have not been able to be nicknamed. They're in a group of fateful encounter Pokemon. It's not only considered their origin location, but they also have a little flag in memory that says, yeah, this is a fateful encounter. Though there's another more fundamental reason for why you can't do so. Event Pokemon don't simply just spawn from the ether with no previous trainer information. You need all three of these pieces to match up in Gen 3. So, if I really wanted my shiny Coliseum Jirachi to have a nickname, I need a way to secure the trainer ID and secret ID that I want. Theoretically, RNG manipulation is possible here. Although people have been asking me throughout this process, why don't you just cheat and get it done easier? I really wanted to learn something too. Ace is like black magic. I'm being handed a scroll by the elder gods of the art and told it to use it very carefully lest it destroy all my friends on my save file. It could have done that. In any case, unfortunately, trainer ID and secret ID manipulation on Sapphire was a dead end. The specific seed required for me to even maybe manipulate my trainer ID and secret ID requires a working battery. So what's the route now? Arbitrary code execution. AC is a tricky beast on Sapphire. As of the writing of this video, there are no normal arbitrary code execution candidates that even exist. Emerald has the most research, so the best way to get arbitrary code execution on Sapphire is to first use Ace on Emerald and effectively manufacture our arbitrary code execution candidate. As always, none of the steps I'm following are ones I'm trailblazing. So shoutouts to Sleipnir17 for putting everything surrounding Sapphire Ace and its prep into a handy video guide. In any case though, let's meet our first glitchy boy. This here is Hex0611. He's going to be handling all of our stuff on Emerald. Say hi, Hex0611. Wait, no. Hex0611 is quite special. We can only get it in egg form through a process called glitzer popping. If you've never heard of this before, there's a berry called the Pomeg berry. It reduces your HP EVs on a Pokemon by 10 in exchange for happiness. The problem is, HP as a stat also changes in real time with your EVs. When you have a Pokemon at 0 HP, you can perform something called the Pomeg glitch, which sends out this little guy, a Decamark. When you send out a Decamark, you can then go into your party as if you're switching, check the summary of a Pokemon, and then scroll up. Scrolling up changes some of the memory values that's right above where your party is in RAM, and doing this for too long is incredibly dangerous. But we only need to do it for about 1 to 2 seconds. I have it set up so that in box 2 we have dots and pluses who are from in-game trades. They have specific data that we can use to make a corruption pattern, and just pray we get it. There's a 3 in 32 chance for each of these guys to turn into an egg of some kind. They could be either TID manipped or PID manipped. We got a number of TID manipped eggs in the process. I'm not quite sure if there was a better way to do this or if I simply got unlucky. Would not be the first time. However, eventually we got the egg we needed and we cloned it a few times. We definitely want to have some spares on hand in case we screw up the next few steps. Our next step in ACE candidate is this Crobat. This isn't any ordinary Crobat, it's going to be a Crobat that hatches from an egg.
Wow.
Which itself was quite unusual, but it's going to have a specific glitch move as an egg move. This glitch move has a glitch animation. Glitch animation data can just perform normal assembly commands, with the right setup anyway. You need it to pull from a place in your save RAM that you can actually manipulate. This move exists in Sapphire, and hatching it in Emerald will not do what we need it to do. It will probably just crash us, I don't know for sure. In any case, we will send that egg over to Sapphire when we're done. There is one more Pokemon we need for Sapphire, and it is this shiny Absol. The shiny Absol has basically no data in it. It basically hooks into our payload and fixes it so it works properly. We have to put it in box 7, slot 23, and I remembered this because I definitely did it wrong at least once. By naming our PC boxes, the text in our PC boxes are going to be interpreted as assembly code. After we have all our candidates, we're almost ready. We'll set up our Sapphire save file now, and that is a quick enough process, takes about 15 minutes. It's just the start of the game. The TID we are aiming for is 20043 with an SID of all zeros. Our way of executing code on Sapphire is exactly the same as Emerald with this setup. We simply name our PC boxes, put our Absol in the right spot, and go into a battle and use the move. After one try, we've got our trainer ID correct. Secret ID was the next one. The way we would check this is that I would then save backup, load it into PKHex, and see what our secret ID is. That's it. Alright, we have done it. All this being said, nicknaming this jirachi was something that was entirely theoretical until I decided to try it. All previous theory pointed to the idea that this jirachi should be able to be nicknamed. As I had known it when I started this process, I only needed my trainer ID, secret ID, and trainer name to match up. Player gender was not even introduced as a factor until Generation 5, so I figured I was ready to go. However, there was something I had forgotten, the Fateful Encounter flag. As stated before, event Pokemon come from something called a Fateful Encounter. Every Pokemon marks where you met that Pokemon. Marking the location as a Fateful Encounter signifies that it comes from an event. However, there is an additional flag in the Pokemon data structure for a Fateful Encounter. This is meant to ensure that even if you got it with your trainer ID and secret ID, that you would not be able to nickname it, as it is very special. The Fateful Encounter flag back in Gen 3 was not used consistently for this purpose, however. It was used primarily for the Wish Eggs as events in Generation 3, and also the XD caught Pokemon for some reason. This seems to imply that it was used more as an obedience flag than anything else. However, starting in Generation 4, particularly midway through, they started using this flag consistently to mark event Pokemon. So this was a problem. If the Fateful Encounter flag was set properly, even with all the setup, I would not be able to nickname him. Here's the good news, though. Looking at PK Hex at Jirachi's data, we can see that the Fateful Encounter flag is just not set. Even more interestingly, after manipulating the trainer ID and SID, the met location changed. It changed to being met in a trade, implying it was traded away and then traded back. This is very good to see, because it meant that any idea of it being a Fateful Encounter is gone. It's wiped. There's no Fateful Encounter flag, so it can't set the met location back, and there's little reason to believe it can't be nicknamed. However, there was only one more thing to test, and my time on stream had to come to an end. So I had to just play through Sapphire on my own time a little bit. And eventually, we got here.
Played Sonic, the first Sonic and all stuff. Oh, I did play Sonic. No, what's the racing game? The first racing game?
Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing.
Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, and then Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform. I had the first one on my I did too! Oh my god, I played that. Is that a Sonic game?
Oh, we did. I can now confirm with 100% certainty that all the theory lines up and Jirachi can be nicknamed in this way. I had a great time working with AC, and I feel a lot better at it. I feel a lot better at understanding what I can do with it. At some point, I want to get good enough at assembly that I could effectively graduate from working on, normal payloads by getting intended events in the game's memory. I want to move on to bigger things, like making Pong. That sounds fun. As a small little addendum to the end of this video, what I was originally going to try for AC was something that had not been attempted before. In Generation 1, shoutouts to the ZZAZZ glitch for uploading a great video on this. You should also play their April Fool's Day event, it's really good. They made a video on card swap in Generation 1. Effectively what you could do is use AC to make a program that just stalls the CPU and does nothing, waits for about 5 seconds. The goal of this is then so that you could swap cartridges and execute the remainder of your payload on the game that you swap to. This seems like it could be potentially door-busting for GBA. If it works the same way as it does in Generation 1, there's a lot that we can do with this. You can manipulate basically any GBA game that way. However, what I was going to do was use cart swap to modify my SRAM on my Sapphire. I want to make a proof of concept for this eventually. It's all theory, however, unlike before, this one does not really have any basis for working. And with a little bit better of assembly knowledge, I think I could do it. But that'll have to be for another day. For now, I'll just enjoy the remainder of my Sapphire journey with my little buddy, who I could truly call my own. Thanks guys, have a good one.